Hi everyone, Bandit Healer here with Rhyme Signatures, the nerdiest music review this side of never needing to go to your job and having unlimited energy to play make-believe with your high-maintenance children. Today, we are going to be doing a review of the new Motorpsycho album, Ancient Astronauts. Okay, so some bands go their entire existence content to ride on the coattails of their previous successes, forever teasing new music, but rarely, if, well, ever in some cases, actually releasing anything on top of their limited discography. Take Carnival, Necrophagist, Tool, Celtic Frost, etc., etc. All bands that have taken over a decade to release a new album after their previous, or in some cases have yet to even release anything new at all since their last output. It's frustrating as a fan, and oftentimes it's not really been worth the wait, as the level of hype builds up to crushing levels and fan expectations soar into the stratosphere. Sometimes you can't help but wish that the new album had never really come out at all. And then there's Motorpsycho, who appear to be amongst the hardest working trio in the business. Ancient Astronauts is their 22nd, if you can believe that, studio album, and their fourth new one in just as many years. This Norwegian powerhouse has put out a new record every single calendar year since 2019. And to date, despite the frequency of their releases, they have not shown any real market dip in quality or passion. So, given their enviable track record, can they keep the momentum going with their latest offering, Ancient Astronauts? Short answer, absolutely yes. Long answer, let's get into that. Ancient Astronauts is a bit of a funny old record, really, made with primarily live recordings, but with some restrictions in place due to the ongoing situation in the world at the moment, which resulted in 1/3 of the band being kind of stuck in another country for the duration of the recording. This album is absolutely of similar DNA to their most recent records, but at the same time it kind of feels really distinct and quite different. 2020's The All Is One was my absolute favourite record of that year, and there are some immediate parallels to be drawn to that, especially when you look at the multi-part NOX suite that was the clear and obvious highlight of that album. However, what struck me first about Ancient Astronauts was just how much shorter of an album this is compared to what Motorpsycho usually put out. This almost feels like an EP in length compared to what the band usually offers. The All Is One was a titanic 85 minutes long, and last year's Kingdom of Oblivion was 70. In comparison, Ancient Astronauts is a very slimline 44 minutes, and comes in at only 4 songs in length, with the second track, The Flower of Awareness, mostly serving as an atmospheric interlude between opener The Ladder and the penultimate Mona Lisa/Azrael. In some ways, I was a little disappointed to see how short the album was. I've always been a proponent of long-form records, but while 44 minutes might be short for Motorpsycho, they still demonstrate their ability to commit to the themes and ideas that keep them running in this comparatively brief offering. Opening track, The Ladder, feels like a natural continuation of the material we found on Kingdom of Oblivion, and I'll be honest, it's easily the weakest track on Ancient Astronauts. This is all relative though, as a weak Motorpsycho track is often worth a dozen good songs from other bands, and the same is really kind of true here. The guitar work from Hans Magnus Ryan is crunchy and immediate. Bent Sather's distinct vocals and fluid bass work make their presence felt beautifully. And the newest member, Thomas Jarmir's drumming, is absolutely electric with dynamic fills, delicate cymbal play, and a brilliant ear for groove, keeping the song going at a cracking pace. It's only really the weak link on this album due to its similarity to the record that came before it. Feeling mostly like a song that should have been on Kingdom of Oblivion, but for whatever reason was left on the cutting room floor until now. But I digress. It's a fun song, memorable and crunchy, with that distinct modern Motorpsycho flavour that I've come to know and love. It just doesn't do anything especially new. We transition nicely into The Flower of Awareness, which, honestly, I feel should have just been incorporated into Mona Lisa/Azrael, and made this into a 3-song album. It's nicely darkened and atmospheric, but as a standalone track, it doesn't really offer much or achieve anything short of setting up the second half of the album. But oh boy, what a second half this is. There's a little bit of an odd background to these remaining two songs that I feel it's important to know before you listen to them, as it does give a lot of context to the sounds and themes to be found on them. Both of these songs were originally created as a musical accompaniment to a live theatre performance from the Impure Dance Company of Oslo, helmed by a gentleman by the name of Homan Sharifi. Which does of course mean that approximately 5 people in the whole wide world were lucky enough to see these songs in their original context, but I am extremely glad that they exist here for us to enjoy. Their inclusion on this album really crafts the overall mood and identity of Ancient Astronauts, with Mona Lisa / Azrael feeling like a beautiful homage to songs like Moonchild and Starless by King Crimson at times, but it then brings back the band's very own distinct and charismatic sounds and identity. About 5 minutes or so in, after they calm down with the Greg Lake and Robert Fripp worship, it gets a bit more guttural, as the song breaks down a bit and brings back that crunchy sound from earlier in the record that we've come to associate with the band. Psychedelic guitar solos drift across this incredible backbone of bass and guitar work, both fighting for your attention, working against each other as much as they are together, and creating what can only really be described as an aural war for the ears. It's a kind of brilliant chaotic melody that only Motorpsycho can achieve, and becomes one of those songs where you really have difficulty believing this was created by only 3 people. You suddenly realise what this album is about. The vocals are sparse and brief, and it's really the instrumentation that takes centre stage. This is art rock at its finest, with every element working overtime to stand above the rest, but somehow everything complements each other. And then it stops. The war is over, the song calms back down, and everything feels smooth and silky like tempered chocolate. All 3 members of the band realising simultaneously that they don't need to fight for your attention, when they can just work together to create some incredibly complex and satisfying melodies. The song ends with a delicate, atmospheric outro not dissimilar to the song preceding it, to set you up for one of the best songs of the band's entire career. The elaborately titled, now bear with me here, Chariot of the Sun to Phaeton on the Occasion of Sunrise, theme from an imagined movie, take that all in, is as long-winded and glorious as the name suggests. Spanning a neatly epic 22 minutes and 21 seconds in length, this really is a full-bodied red wine of music. It needs time to breathe, to seep into your ears and unfurl fully to be properly appreciated. More so than anything else on this record, this demands your best speakers or best headphones and a large "Do Not Disturb" sign on your listening nook. The gently swelling guitars of the intro, undercut by delicate keys, carry the song for the first few minutes, giving off a relaxing atmosphere unlike any other. Perfect music, really, to float away to. Equal parts calming, but yet still exciting as it kind of feels it building and building into something really big. Chariot of the Sun, as we shall call it from now on, isn't afraid to take its time, and it is a deeply rewarding song for it. The intro, much like Dream Theater's opus Octavarium, takes a good 4 to 5 minutes before it moves into the next phase, but it never feels boring or plodding. It's an excellent demonstration of how to pace an epic like this. And as the calming guitars start to peter off, we are treated to some gentle vocal humming, but with some slightly sinister undertones as the guitars build back up with distortion, and the song starts to crash the waves of the storm around you. It's gradual though, and around the 7-minute mark, the excellent distorted bass line kicks in, which serves as the bedrock for the vast majority of the rest of the song. Hans Magnus Ryan's guitar playing here is absolutely stunning, laying solo after solo, style after style, mood after mood, all with that grooving bass line guiding the song on the right course throughout. It's, frankly, an incredible trip, and the 22 minutes just melt away. It feels like one of the shortest epics I've heard from modern prog rock, and it's testament to just how interesting and engaging this music is. We segue from idea to idea over and over, never feeling the need to stick around for too long before introducing new and more exciting elements. Building the song up over the long form like this gives it time to breathe, much like the previously mentioned red wine analogy, and develops a complex series of flavours in your ears over the runtime. But as each idea crescendos and comes to fruition, there's that bass line, rock solid underneath it all, keeping the ship sailing true and on course to the end. It's brilliantly composed and only leaves you hungry for more when the final seconds play out. And that's honestly my only real complaint on Ancient Astronauts, is that Motorpsycho have treated us all too often to records that far exceed an hour in length. Now this feels all too brief, and it's over before you even realise it's begun, which is a real shame. Aside from that, this is another incredible addition to a band whose vast discography has no real genuinely bad albums, which is an astonishing feat, considering they've now been recording as a band for over 30 years. So, what else can I say about Ancient Astronauts? This is a sonic trip through the minds of some of the most prolific and talented songwriters in modern prog rock. It's an engaging, mostly instrumental journey through 1,001 different moods and atmospheres, whose only real shortcoming is that, well, I could have easily devoured a record twice this length and still come back begging for more. Will we see another Motorpsycho release in 2023? Who knows? But considering the full steam ahead rate that this band has been putting music out, it seems plausible. Either way, whatever comes next is going to be at the forefront of my anticipation. This is all, of course, my opinion, as you know, so tell me what you thought of this record in the comments down below. If you have anything you've listened to this year that you think I might enjoy or check out, do let me know about it. Might get around to giving it my own thoughts. If you did like this video, please do consider sharing it with anyone who you think might enjoy it. Thumb it to help me with the inevitable metrics and all that exciting behind the scenes techno wizardry. And maybe consider subscribing for some more content in the future. Until next time, guys, keep your rhyme signatures odd.